I will call to order the Ottawa City Commission meeting for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. May I have roll call, please?
Mayor Clayton,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Crowley,
Present.
Commissioner Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore,
Present.
and Commissioner Van Layden.
Present.
We are all present and accounted for. Just want to welcome everyone who's here in the audience. We see a lot of bright shirts, as well as those watching and listening online. We will do the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Pastor Dakota Smith from Ottawa Bible Church and family.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Hey, before I get started, I just want to let you know the last meeting you all had was so amazing to listen to on the radio. And Mr. Clayton, you said something that I think was so worth taking note of. You know, there's little gripes and complaints here and there, but, you know, when the community shows up and supports you guys and gives you all these positive comments, that's something that I think you can cling to at the end of the day with regard to your leadership. And it made me think of this verse. It says in Proverbs 12:18, "There is one who speaks rashly, like the thrusts of a sword." You know, some words cut, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. You know, I just wanted to add a little ointment. I've never been so proud of our city's leadership from the 7 years we've lived here than from being able to see you guys in the last week. And so everybody in here, if we can give them a round of applause, I think it's appropriate. Thank you guys for your leadership. Please allow me to pray. Father, thank you so much for the leaders that you've placed before us. You've handpicked them. Thank you that they are servants. Thank you for their time and their effort. We love them so much. We thank you for each and every one of them, God. We know that they are valuable in your eyes, and we pray that they would just remain encouraged in all the hard work that it takes to lead this city. So give them wisdom and a multitude of counselors. Help their words to not cut, but help their words to heal, and help them to also be healed by healthy words. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Thank you all.
Thank you, Pastor, and thank you for bringing the whole family with you as a support system. So we're losing half the audience, it seems like. Thank you. Yes. That'll take us to item 6, public comments.
We have none registered.
Having none, that'll take us to item 7, appointments, proclamations, recognitions, and nomination. Item 7A, proclamation recognizing April 20th through 26th, 2026 as National Volunteer Recognition Week, which will be read by Commissioner Allen.
The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas the entire community can affect positive change with any volunteer action, no matter how big or small, and whereas volunteers in Ottawa have undertaken responsibilities that promote the general welfare of the city, and whereas during this week, all over the nation, service projects will be performed and volunteers will be recognized for their commitments to community service, and whereas in providing these services, volunteers have demonstrated a spirit of personal concern and wholehearted willingness to help others. And whereas volunteers are vital to our future as caring and productive nation, whereas these volunteers are most deserving of appreciation and thanks. Therefore, we, the governing body of the city of Ottawa, Kansas, do hereby proclaim the week of April 19th through 25th, 2026 to be Volunteer Week in the city of Ottawa, and urges citizens to join the effort and celebrate volunteers in our communities. By volunteering and recognizing those who serve, we promote unity and fellowship, increase community awareness, and inspire by example, fostering a community of understanding and compassion. Signed this 22nd day of April, 2026 by our mayor, Zach Clayton.
Thank you. Are we presenting to all of VIPs? Do we know who's receiving? Okay, let's go. You guys can come on around. Come on, Kim. Anyone would like to say anything? You want to hop to the podium now? Thank you, guys.
I'm Ron Hughes, volunteer coordinator for the volunteers, and this is about half of our squad. We have like 17 people, and we keep busy all the time, especially with the prom walk the other night and the tornado. So we're just happy to serve the city of Ottawa.
Thank you. Could you, while you're up there real quick, for people who don't know what VIPS is, could you give kind of a quick little
Okay,
elevator
so
speech about
we
it?
started back when Chief Butler was here, because he had it in DC and Virginia. So what we do, we go out when the officers can't make it to something, like 5K runs, parades. We take care of the traffic so they can be out on the street protecting us. So that's mainly what we do.
Awesome. And VIPS stands for?
Volunteers in Police Service.
Thank you guys so much. And thank you for everything that you do throughout the year. Thank you. That'll take us to item 7B, proclamation recognizing April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention Month, and will be read by Commissioner Van Leeden.
The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas every child deserves to grow up in a safe, stable, and nurturing environment where they are protected, valued, and given the opportunity to thrive. And whereas child abuse and neglect continue to impact children and families in communities across our nation, causing lasting emotional, physical, and psychological harm. And whereas preventing child abuse requires a collective commitment of community members, service providers, educators, law enforcement, healthcare professionals, and advocates working together to support children and families. And whereas child advocacy centers and their multidisciplinary teams, MDT partners, including law enforcement, child protective professionals, prosecutors, medical providers, and mental health professionals, play a critical role in providing child-focused, trauma-informed services in a coordinated response to allegations of abuse. And whereas Ad Astra Advocacy Center, in partnership with MDT agencies across Franklin and Miami counties, works to ensure that children and families have access to compassionate advocacy, forensic interviews, resources, and support during difficult and vulnerable moments. And whereas increasing public awareness and providing families with education, support, and resources can help prevent abuse and strengthen families before crises arise. And whereas communities that prioritize the protection and well-being of children demonstrate their commitment to a brighter, healthier future for all. Now, therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby recognize April 2026 as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month in the City of Ottawa, and urges all citizens to join in the national effort to raise awareness and help prevent child abuse and neglect. Signed this 22nd day of April 2026 by Mayor Zach Clayton.
Thank you. And this will be received by Skylar Yeager and Ad Astra Advocacy Center, +1. And Ralphie. Thank you. I will offer you, I know you want to say.
Yeah, I'll say. Good evening, all. Thank you so much for having Ralphie and I here tonight. We are just so thankful for the community of Ottawa and all that you guys are doing to support children in our community. And, you know, like it said in the proclamation, it takes a team and it takes a community, and you guys clearly want to see that happen. So I appreciate all your time and can't wait to see what we can do for our kids.
Thank you. That'll move us on to item 8, consent agenda, which consists of the minutes from the April 15th, 2026 meeting, March 2026 financial monthly report, mowing award for city-owned properties, and an agenda approval. Motion to approve. I have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. That'll take us to item 9, declaration. At this time, I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Hearing none, we will skip item 10, unfinished business, as we have none. That'll take us to item 11A, interview for City of Ottawa Planning Commission with George Ogle. Welcome.
Hi.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. So we have a few questions. We all got your application. A few questions. We'll just kind of do round robin.
Okay.
Round. Commissioner Van Leen, do you want to lead off?
Sure. So why do you want to serve on the planning commission?
I serve on one board, but it's only like 6 or 8 meetings a year. And I just feel like I need to probably give back a little bit. I've done pretty well in this town and pretty involved, and I think I can probably help out.
Okay. What specific skills, qualifications, and experience can you offer to this commission?
Been in the building trades. I started a long time ago. Building houses since 1993. Sort of have an idea how things work as far as building residential. I've had a little experience in planning and codes and things like that. And I started my first subdivision, and this just seems like it's doing the subdivision. It showed me some things I don't know, and I don't like not knowing things. So I figure I get on this, and it may not be where I may like it, I may not, I don't know, but I want to learn what it's about.
Thank you. For you, what role do you see the Planning Commission serving for the City of Ottawa?
Well, I called you to ask exactly what the job description was. I'm not 100% sure, but you explained that anything the city's planning on doing or thinking about doing, you sort of get a rundown of what it looks like. And I think I'd be good at trying to figure out if it's going to harm anything or make things better or worse or indifferent.
Thank you.
Welcome, George. This is your first time at City Hall, isn't it? I don't know if you knew your way
First time
around. but
today.
yeah.
Maybe not.
But I know you've been building before 1993. Can you tell me how long ago you really started? You know, how
No,
old you were?
93 is when I started. I didn't know anything then.
Wow.
So I'm not that old, so.
All right, well, that's all right. I get you, but I know you've been around a long time, and so congratulations on that. Let me ask you this question. What do you perceive as the biggest need or concern regarding the Planning Commission today?
Well, I know that we need someone, it seems I'm the only one being interviewed at the moment. A couple of people on the commission told me that I'd be a good fit for it. Like I said, I don't know a lot about everything they do. I know I've been in front of them, and I can read the prints, I can figure out, and I think they, once I know what exactly it is that they'll be doing, then I'll be able to answer that question better.
Yeah, you bet.
George, as a contractor, me, and a commissioner, we have lots of conversations that they don't just evolve around contracting. They evolve around city stuff. So if you are selected to be a planning commissioner, you're going to be in the same boat. You're going to have folks visiting your job sites that have nothing to do with your job sites. That's now wanting to talk to you about planning commission stuff. So, and I always think this is a no-brainer question because actually it's a one-word question I think everybody responds to, but are you willing to set aside personal feelings that you may have if a applicant comes to you and kind of tells you their side of the story and you think it's either good or bad? Are you willing to set aside your personal feelings to move forward with what's best for the city of Ottawa?
Absolutely. As Skidmore said, I've been up here a few times, but it's hopefully in my frustration, hopefully you can see that I'm not stomping my feet just wanting my way. I'm wanting everybody to do everything correctly and fair and what's in the best interest of everybody. And that's not always what I want. Sometimes what I want, if it steps on something else that's more important in the big picture, then absolutely.
So it's not just a one-word answer. Thank you.
You know
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah. George, as we're thinking about this, is there anything else that you can think of that we should ask you?
No. That's one more.
That's what we're doing. And do you have anything that you would like to ask us?
No, I think we're
Okay.
pretty square.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any further questions? I don't think we do. So thank you for your time. We'll make a decision and then someone I know will reach out to you. I'm not sure who that exact person is. So thank you. That'll take us to item 11B. Consider the 2026 first quarter NRP rebate applications for 9 properties. Consider approval of the 2026 first quarter NRP rebate applications for 9 properties as recommended by the Neighborhood Revitalization Program Review Committee with Planning Assistant Hurd. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. So I have brought to you the 2026, the first quarter. This does also include the last quarter of 2025. We did include those as well, since those did not get to you last year, and I apologize about that. Staff recommends that the City Commission accept the recommendation of the Neighborhood Revitalization Program Review Committee and approve the properties into the program. Just a little bit background of the actual program in itself, just in case citizens listening, and for our new commissioner. The program itself was developed in 1997 between the city, USD 290, and our county. That program is intended for the rehabilitation of a district within our community to either rehab homes or build new homes within that district. It's to improve that community, develop it, and improve or to rehab that community. So our Commissioner Skidmore, Commissioner Skidmore is our representative on that committee for the City of Ottawa. We have Board Member Wingert for USD 290 and Commissioner Harris for the county. We have 4 new residences, 4 remodel residences, and then 1 remodel commercial residence within this packet. I did update the 2025 to 2030 housing study for you all as well. So that way you could see how that is changing within the community from the last time that I updated that in September. Financial considerations. The only financial consideration that I would say this would have would be the future tax rebates. And then the legal consideration is just the agreement that we had between the city, county, and USD 290. Again, staff recommendation would be to approve or accept the 9 properties within that neighborhood revitalization program, or we can discuss it at a later date.
Thank you, and thank you for the work of you and that board as well. Do we have any question on probably just we want to discuss first just the residential? Anyone has any questions on either the new builds or the remodels? Okay. Do we have any questions for the commercial remodel address? Okay, any further discussion, or I would entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we approve item 11B on the agenda.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
for clarity purposes, I just want to make note that I was the electrical contractor on a couple of these projects. My compensation does not change whether these are approved or not, so I feel okay with moving forward on a vote.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I just want to add, I appreciate the school district as well as the county working with us. It takes all three of us to approve this, to make this happen, not just a majority, if I understand right. One person has veto power, I assume, or is it have to be unanimous?
It's a
It
majority, so 2 out
is.
of 3.
Okay, well, I guess, but anyway, it's good that we've got a unanimous group with it. So I appreciate Board Member Wingert and Commissioner Harris for working with us on this too.
I'll just second that as well. Seeing the 122 West Tecumseh, a lot of people know that building, probably not by its address, but if you see a photo of it, you know it. And
Right
You know,
next to Kent State Bank.
yeah, seeing some plans for turning that into something is exciting to see. So
Correct.
I always appreciate seeing that. With nothing else, I'd have roll call, please.
How do you vote, Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Layden?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
And Mayor Clayton?
I vote yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. That'll take us on to item 11C. Consider approval design of Princeton Street and Princeton Circle Sidewalk. This item is to consider approval of a design service agreement with BG Consultants, Inc. for the Princeton Street and Princeton Circle Sidewalk project with Director Welsh. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. So what you have before you is exactly what it said, what you just mentioned. The request for the design of a project that would extend sidewalks down Princeton Street and Princeton Circle connecting 19th Street to 23rd. Our recommendation would be to approve the agreement or the professional services agreement with BG Consultants. I will make note that BG Consultants, David Hamby, our city engineer, this would be his firm. So back in February of this year, city staff submitted a grant through KDOT. It's a Transportation Alternatives Grant. With that grant, with that submission, it was just the idea. It was just a concept grant. So it's a multiple part grant that you've got to go through. So step one was submit a concept. So we knew in the past that there had been discussion of installing sidewalks through the TIF district around Price Chopper, so between the areas of 19th Street and 21st Street Terrace. With this concept, we extended it out further and we took it and connected all the way down to 23rd Street. And then we went west with it to connect some of the other businesses as you moved west and also connected to the Prairie Spirit Trail. So the board that oversaw that concept liked what they saw and invited us to submit a full application. So that would be the next step into this process. After we submitted that and they reached out and said, yes, we would like you to submit an application, they also reached out to City Clerk Sherman and requested to do a training in our community in the area because they thought that it fit exactly what the training was and the concept was just, it was exactly what they were looking for. So we've actually invited them and several other communities to come to our community to look at the area to do a training. So that's side note, but I thought that was cool and we should mention that. So this particular project is going to focus on improving the sidewalk connectivity, as I said, along Princeton Street and through the surrounding areas. This here is the concept that we submitted. It's going to provide, like I said, that continuous sidewalk all the way down from 19th Street, connecting both sides down to 23rd Street. Then once again, down 23rd Street to the west, all the way to the Prairie Spirit Trail. Something that we will add on, let's see if I can remember how to use this pointer, is this part here. We intend to try to add a sidewalk that's going to connect down King Street right here. So that way people will be able to make their way, pedestrians will be able to make their way into that parking lot and connecting into those other businesses. That was an add-on that was requested by KDOT when they sent back some of their remarks on how to make a stronger application. So that was one of the things that we will add on. So Yeah, I'll get back to that. So as you can see on these, and as you're very well aware of, there are many many gaps in the sidewalk network out here. Multiple curb ramps that are missing that are not ADA compliant. I'm sure many of you have seen pedestrians walking down the roadway along the side of the roads or through parking lots out there in that area, creating safety concerns, as you can imagine, and also it limits accessibility. What this project would do is provide us a continuous ADA compliant sidewalk network, improving that pedestrian safety. Going to formalize that pedestrian route as you see on the map, so people will actually have a path to walk down. And overall, in the request today is to be able to put this design forward, is it's going to put us in a position to provide a strong grant application as we move forward. Also with this, moving forward with the design at this stage in the process, it's going to allow us to refine the scope, the cost, and the project limits. It's going to address the drainage, the utility needs, and the right-of-way early in the process. And it's going to position the city to be able to move quickly if the funding was awarded. And so the project we wouldn't miss a beat. We would just be able to get started with construction. Without the design up front, our grant application is not going to be a very strong. As I'd mentioned before, the 19th Street to 21st Street Terrace, that is within a TIF district at Price Chopper. If we were to have this design done, potentially receive the funding for the Transportation Alternatives Grant, this total design right now, without the extra sidewalks that we've already, or that we plan to add to this design, we're at about $1.1 million total for the project. The Transportation Alternatives Grant would cover 80% of that construction project, and the city would be required to fund the rest of it, the other 20%. The $75,000 request for the design of this would not be covered under this grant. But if we were, so the next step in the process, assuming that we have the design, we are going to develop a project within the TIF district. So there are a lot of steps that go through to develop that project. And if you guys would like to hear those, I would allow Director Landis to kind of expand on that, because she would be the expert in that area. But if we were to develop that, we had asked our engineer to break down what the percentage estimates are from the TIF district to outside of the TIF district. So where I'm going with this is about 65% of this project in total, 65% of the total project is within the TIF district. So that's where the majority of the funds would come from if the project was accepted. And then the remainder of it would come out of like our sidewalk budget. So also included in that, if that project is accepted, approximately 65% of this design would also come out of that TIF district. As you can see, the strategic alignment is focused on our infrastructure and stewardship of resources, building that long-term pedestrian infrastructure, and it's going to give that pedestrian safety and ADA compliance under our safety and education. We would recommend that you approve the agreement with BG Consultants and authorize our city manager to execute the contract. I'm going to put it back on this map because I feel like you're going to want to see it again. So I'm just going to be preemptive there. And I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Start off, I'm glad you brought that up. Anytime a sidewalk crosses a street or a parking lot entrance or exit, I assume we'll have pedestrian markings accordingly?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
make
that,
sure on
and all of that would come with that design. Also to note, since you're getting into that type of detail, we know that these areas here, we have stoplights here, so we would have to, there would be some infrastructure that would have to be put into place to put those push button crosswalks on those. So those are already a part of the plan.
Is that covered in the grant?
that part of the construction would
be.
be covered in the grant, yes.
I know I always,
Assuming that we get the grant, but yes, it
Sure,
would be
sure.
covered, yes.
I know I always cringe when I'm driving down that road and I see somebody walking there and it just seems so dangerous. And then also with the students living down that direction now, there's even more foot traffic. So I think sidewalks are much needed for that area.
And that was the reason, you know, when we had originally looked at the TA grant, we said, okay, well, let's just focus on this TIF district area because we know that there's been conversation in the past. And not the only reason, but another reason is just exactly like you had mentioned, commissioners, is we knew that Hasty Hall had went in there and there was some other housing further south. So we're seeing a lot more pedestrian activity out in that area. So it only makes sense to extend these sidewalks as far south as we can go.
Would it'd be further north, but on that west side, I know there's like a crosswalk over the street, but you know, there's no stop sign and there's no flashing light like there is on the east side. You know, where they're coming out of by the fairgrounds, coming off the trail to get over to Price Chopper. Would it be something to address that?
With this design, that wouldn't be addressed. It's
No,
definitely
okay.
something we could look at in the future, but with this design, we weren't addressing that particular portion.
DJ, you already answered some of my questions I wrote down, so I appreciate that. Could you kind of explain why the decision was made if it was on, it's the lot across from Freddie's northeast corner at 21st Terrace in Princeton, instead of connecting up to that existing sidewalk kind of by the Kansas State ATM, it curves.
To the other side?
Yeah. So 21st Street Terrace and Princeton Street, it'd be the bottom right, but it's the northeast corner.
So you're talking about this sidewalk
Yeah.
here,
Yes, why to the left of that, we just kind of have a little corner instead of connecting.
this piece?
Yeah. Do you know?
Well,
This part here, I don't know why we didn't draw it into that, with the exception of this concept here, this original like C-shaped piece that goes around this TIF district had already been in the plans. This has been discussed long ago. So we just went with the original plan of putting this sidewalk in here. I don't know, Melanie, maybe you can answer this. Is the other side of Princeton Street here, is this covered in the TIF district?
It's not.
Okay, so that may be why, a part of
Okay.
why
okay.
that original design didn't cross the road is because it wasn't in the TIF district.
Well,
And then you get towards residential
Yeah.
areas.
yeah. And another reason is Kansas State Bank's proposing to build there too. So all of that could be coming out anyway. You know,
Yeah.
the sidewalk, the ATM entrance and exit and all that stuff too, so. Director Welsh, I know everybody takes a big gulp when you say $1.1 million. It seems like a lot of money. The grant covers 80%, so $880,000 is gone, which means the city's portion is $220,000. You said 65% is covered by the TIF district. Can you explain kind of what the TIF district and where those funds come from? Or
I
Director
will
Landis?
defer to Director Landis on that.
You got those eyes real big, so that's why I pointed this direction.
The district was put in place when Price Chopper first came to that area. And the development in that highlighted section right there, even within where that sidewalk runs, is all in a district itself. There's one project within the district, and that is for Price Chopper. So that was an incentive that was granted to Price Chopper when they built. And so the increment that's generated from their property portion of that goes back to them annually until it comes to a certain amount. This is the last year of that reimbursement to them. And so everything remaining in the district itself is available for use for a project. But we will have to establish an actual project to be able to use it. So essentially right now, the dollars are already there and we would not even have to wait for them to be generated in order to cover that portion of the project, the sidewalk piece of that project.
So if 65% is covered, that's $143,000. So if we do $1.1 million worth of sidewalks, taxpayers will pay $77,000 for it, roughly.
That would be the construction side. I want to point out too, that the 75,000 for the design that we're asking for today, we would also have to add that 35% of that cost to that number.
So roughly $100,000 for
Yes.
$1.1 million worth of sidewalks.
Correct.
On this, DJ, do you know with, I'm just thinking since we've got BG or someone engaged already engineering, while they do that, is it more beneficial potentially to look at expanding the scope that they engineer, even that's not part of the application, or would this be specifically just, I'm thinking if you continue north on Princeton Street, that is where there's a lot of folks that walk along that. And, if obviously it would increase some cost, but if it is more beneficial to get the engineering out of the way with something like this, and then if we only do construction on smaller portions with the TA grant, if that would make more sense to look at all the way up to 17th. Because we do have a connector with the trail on the west side, but I think if we've learned anything with pedestrians, they take the shortest, quickest route. So while they can go to the trail, cross Main, get to the trail, come down, come back across, say to go to Walmart from somewhere on the east side, people will take the quickest route. And is that something kind of with this that we could, in that, look, and maybe you guys are already close enough to an agreement or what, get that engineering done, so then in the future, kind of, we already have that in our pocket.
Yeah, and it's always a good idea to have those plans done ahead of time. So just like this one, if we were to get this design done and for, in the unfortunate circumstance that we weren't approved for the grant, we would at least have the design done. If we were to want to expand it further further north to 17th Street, it would change the scope of this design. So we would have to then come back to you with a different agreement to say, now we would like this one to look like whatever it may look like. Not that we're in a huge time crunch at this time, but we are kind of under the gun in order to get our application for this grant submitted. I think that it's mid-May when it's got to be submitted.
Okay.
So this design is just one step of many pieces that we've still got to complete in order to get the application turned in.
That makes sense.
So Mayor Clayton, also by Hidden Lakes, there's a new crossing over there,
Mhm.
so they can kind of cut through that Price Chopper parking lot, cross there, and then we could always build on that in the future.
Mhm.
Since we're talking about that crossing, and I know it's kind of off topic, but is there a way that we can discuss, slowing speed down there also? I mean, that's a 40-mile-an-hour speed right there, and I know if some people, I know it doesn't necessarily make a difference 40 to 30 if you're hit by a moving car, but I just think it makes you more, you're paying more attention, but possibly at 30 than you are 40, and I'm just concerned about that crossing right there.
Yeah, certainly I'll defer to DJ's expertise. Typically, if you want to check the speed limit in an area, you would do a speed study. You would check the check volume of traffic and speed of traffic, and there's an engineering function that tells you how fast cars can go that would be a safe speed. And I don't know the price of that, Commissioner, and DJ might have more to add to that, but that's typically what we do. We want to check the speed in area.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You would have to do all of those studies in order to say, I don't think it would be as difficult to say, hey, we want traffic to move slower in an area as opposed to traffic to move faster in an area. But you've also got to keep in mind too, that when you slow traffic down, it does create other potential problems. So that's why you would have to do those types of studies. I don't know what that study would cost right off the top of my head. We would have to speak with our engineer on it.
So do we still have that information from when they did the study for Hidden Lakes, and is it still relevant?
I'd have to look. I mean, I don't know if Ashley can speak for community development, if they did a traffic study that included a specific speed element. Oftentimes, a traffic study for a subdivision is just about how many cars you're going to be putting in at a given access point. Certainly can do that. And it's a good refresher that all of those traffic decisions we want to make with engineering guidance, we've talked about this at other points throughout the city, because you want to make sure that it's safe, and objectively, you want that data from an engineer as opposed to us going, boy, that feels fast, or that seems slow. And so, yeah, certainly can get some more information on that for you, Commissioner.
And I appreciate that. My only concern, and I know those lights you're blinking yellow and nice and bright, but they're kind of new to the city of Ottawa too. You see them in Topeka all the time, but not around here. So I just think that maybe folks may not see it, and if they have a little bit more time to react because of a slower speed, it'd be certainly beneficial.
We do have some tools in our toolkit that we could use out there, like the temporary speed beacon, the police department has. It could set up and, flashes red and blue when people are exceeding a certain speed. I know they had that out there when there was construction going on. That may be something we want to talk to PD about putting back out there for a while people get used to the pedestrian beacon.
It could be a good idea. Thank you.
And I would also go back to the request to maybe extend this design a little bit, Mayor. We could bring back to you in the future, if you would like for this design to extend an amended scope of work and an amended design, we could bring that back as well. Once this one was approved, we would be able to amend it, and then we could potentially add that onto it as we move forward.
Thank you for that. And this may be a question for you, DJ, or potentially City Attorney Finch. Is BG Consultants doing this as David Hamby is our city engineer, or did this go out and there were other applicants and we selected BG, or how did, was that pool opened up to other, Bartlett and West or other people who do?
In this
civil
case, it
engineering?
was not opened up based on our time frame. We didn't have time to open it up from knowing that we were going to be able to submit the application to be able to get the design moving forward before we're able to submit the application. The time, it wasn't there to be able to open that up. So we just went with the city engineer's firm at this time.
Thank you.
Mayor, as well with that, Mr. Hamby was a consultant writing the grant and helping us establish that. And so he was instrumental in getting that concept paper together.
Great. Thank you. So we've had a lot of numbers. So again, your ask today is approval for the design services contract of $75,000.
That is correct. That is the ask today.
And that is, and this may be for Melanie, something that we would pay and then potentially, if the grant goes through and there's that TIF, be reimbursed, or does that reimburse us from the grant if we get that, or is that just straight?
This part, 75,000 is not covered under the grant.
Okay,
So if we were to develop develop and approve the TIF district project, then 65% of the funds would come out of that TIF district.
thank you.
And I will say, I mean, either way, this is something we're probably going to look at in the future, or hopefully near future, regardless of the grant or not. So it's money that would be well spent either way.
Yeah, and whenever you have these designs, even like I said, if it's designed and just sitting on the shelf, it opens up a lot of opportunity for future grant requests. So it's a good thing to have in our back pocket.
And, I think it's fitting that next is our capital improvement plan, which I know this has been a part of. So it's always exciting seeing things on that from the past almost come to, maybe it's not fruition yet, but we're
We're headed down the
steps to get
path,
closer. Yeah.
so to say, speak.
Mr. Mayor,
Commissioner,
I'll make the motion. We approve item 11C on our agenda.
motion, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
With motion a second, any further discussion? May I have roll call, please?
How do you vote, Commissioner Van Layden?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
And Mayor Clayton?
I vote yes, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director and staff. That'll take us to item 11D, 2027 through 2031 Capital Improvement Program. Director Landis will present they saw you coming. Director Landis will present the 2027 through 2031 Capital Improvement Plan. That's-
There's only 75 slides.
Yes.
I waited till now to tell you that. But I did tell everyone that I would hit them at a very, very high level. So the capital improvement process is something we review every year, and your department heads do go through the process of evaluating all of the large projects that they have coming at us and that have been on our radar as future projects and might have moved around in our schedule because grant dollars became available or an alternative funding source became available. And then we also open it up to the public for their comments as well. So this is just our budget calendar, and we're bringing this to you for your comment and review today. But then after that, it goes to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission will discuss it. They'll hold a public hearing, and then they find whether it is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. And then we will bring it back to you for final approval when we adopt the budget. In summary, the capital improvement program is a multi-year plan that for us, we use 5 years plus. So the plus year is the current year. We kind of update the current year, but it's 2027 through 2031. And it really just identifies your project and your priorities that you want us to focus on finding funding for and getting accomplished over the next several years. And then we did ask for public input. This year we had 23 submissions. I think we've had maybe 4 in the past as the most. So there was a lot. And I do have just kind of an overview of that at the end of the presentation. Then we have also reviewed those internally at the staff level to see where they might fit within what we're already planning to do. And then again, we're asking you for some input or comment, and we'll take it back to the Planning Commission and hold a public hearing. In the CIP, we have several project categories, everything from the airport to each of our utilities. There is, it covers parks and golf and the auditorium, sidewalks, and the police department. This graph really just shows you how the funding is allocated in the document. But I do really want to point out here that a lot of this is our best guess at how we're going to be able to fund some of those big projects in the future. And as you've seen over just the last 18 to 24 months, many grant opportunities have become available to us that we've been able to use instead of having to fund those projects with dollars that we weren't sure where they were going to come from. So having those projects in the plan itself and ready to go, such as this recent sidewalk project, having a design ready to go for some of these items is really important. So the things that are in here are mostly preparation for what are we going to do when it comes to the point of pulling the trigger on those items. This is again, just a different funding source summary. The obvious piece here is that there's not a lot going on in 2030 and 2031. And I think that's because, a lot of this is front loaded with the anticipation that many of these projects will have a funding source or something's already been identified that we didn't know was going to come to us in the form of grant dollars. And so while we do our best to try and forecast out 5 years, a lot of times we end up hyper-focused on what's coming at us in just the next couple of years. And those tend to be enough dollars and enough large projects that it's really more of a short-term focus. Under our airport, and unless you have questions, if you have questions, please stop me at any one of these slides, but I'm really going to try to hit them at a high level. The information was all in the packet, and it'll be on the website as well for anyone who has questions about the individual projects. There are detailed sheets in the packet for every one of these that it describes the project and describes what those funding sources and what the budget impact might be for each one. So the reconstruction of the taxiway, this is just an update as a 2026 project that's underway. The extension of the runway at the airport, this is a project that was recently awarded under a federal appropriation. And so we're moving in the direction of that project. So occurring potentially over 26, 27, possibly into 28. For the auditorium, we still have the basement accessibility lift. And in past years, we've known that this has become a priority, accessibility in that building, especially with the updates and the advanced use of that building over time, has really pushed this to the top of the list of needs for the accessibility to be able to access the basement. And as you're aware, one of the other projects in here is the build out, the renovation of the kitchen, and to be able to offer the programming in the kitchen and be able to continue to rent out that space to our community is really difficult for anyone without the ability to go down those stairs. It really limits their opportunity to use that basement. The lower lobby restroom update needs an update. That is a planned project for 2026. This is really just more of a maintenance item, but important because there wasn't funding originally available for this. The community kitchen remodel, this is what I mentioned. There was some grant dollars that came in. And so it is just a start on the kitchen. I don't believe that's going to finish the complete kitchen. They've done an immense amount of work of trying to purchase or collect other items in order to be able to finish out that full renovation. But this is definitely going to go a long way towards getting that completed. Under our electric utility, we have the system conversion project, which, as you know, has been on our radar for a couple of years now. Really, we're in we have the study phase. We will have the engineering phase as well as the construction phase. right now, it's looking to be funded with long-term debt. This is one of those projects where you don't necessarily have the $8 million that's necessary to do the project, where long-term debt financing comes into being probably your best option at getting it done sooner rather than waiting to save up those cash dollars to accomplish that project. And again, many of these projects have been submitted for appropriation dollars or grant applications. But until we hear back on those, we have to really assume that we're still going to have to fund them until we have an acknowledgement back on each of those awards. The river crossing circuit rebuild, this is planned for 27 and 28. This is the structures across the river for our electric utility. The 15th and Main traffic light replacement, we've had a lot of discussion about that over time. We did the engineering. We recently talked about the extension of the sidewalk near that traffic light replacement. This is just completion of the project this year in 2026. The Northeast Substation reliability and capacity improvement. This is the study portion of that project. We do have the rest of this project listed in our future radar, but until we do the study and eventually design this project, we don't know what the cost of that eventual construction or improvement might be for this. The Cooper engine controls update. This is something that our staff has been working towards, and we've been setting aside money into the electric CIP fund annually, about $250,000 at a time. So over the last couple of years and over the next couple of years until we can accomplish this in 2028, we'll be able to pay cash for that project. The 1st through 5th Street traffic signal engineering. So I believe that we've mentioned this in the past, that we have, out of all of our traffic lights, many of them need to be either reconfigured or at least determine whether or not they need to be replaced. And so engineering the traffic signals, this is one of the projects that's slated for 2027. This would also come from your electric CIP fund. The 9th Street traffic and intersection reconstruction project. That one, I believe this is engineering in 26 and construction in 27.
Would engineering also tell us if we even need a light there?
Yes, I think so. I cannot speak intelligently about that particular intersection. I know that in the past we had talked about one of the other intersections, and as we got through some of those initial conversations, determined that that traffic signal didn't need to be replaced. Not necessarily that it needed to be taken out, but I think a lot comes from those conversations. So I will certainly ask our utility director that question.
Sure, I'd be interested in hearing that, just because, I mean, it's middle of town per se, and I mean, I understand, it's a good path, crossing for, going to the college and stuff, so it may be needed for, that, but other than that, it's more of a hindrance for traffic than anything.
Great question.
Sorry, with that, Director, while you're stopping, if you go back one, is that the engineering portion of where the signal cabling would go, or would this be included in the downtown kind of master plan that's out? Would this be in tandem with that, or would it be?
It would be in tandem with that, and it would occur after that downtown master plan, because we wouldn't want to engineer until we know exactly what those ideas might be. So it's really the next step in that process. Just knowing that it needs to happen is why it made it onto the radar. It does show in 2027. As you know, that downtown master plan may not be done until 27. This may get pushed out to 2028. It's a perfect example of how things get moved around based on the timeline of other projects.
Thank you.
The Main Street lighting for downtown, then this would be the continuation of that. So after the engineering is done for those downtown, I'm sorry, this is street lighting. This was traffic control. I'm sorry. Oh goodness, I'm way off. I'm sorry. So Main Street lighting for downtown. This is a continuation of what that design would be after the downtown master plan. For the golf course, we still are holding the two projects in here without an intended funding source at this point. We're looking into a couple of options here for the replacement of the entire irrigation system. We've done a great job of mitigating some of the issues that we've had. We're able to water some of the golf course, not all of the golf course. That staff does a really great job of having to hand control everything with that irrigation system. None of it is electronic or it's all manual at this point.
Is that first chunk essentially the like engineering portion of it, like the
Yes.
actual design portion of it?
It would be the design, and then we would know what that eventual cost is. That number is just something that we,
Ballpark, yeah.
yes, it's just a good ballpark at this point. The golf course cart path installation, we have talked about that in the past when we took over the golf course. The cart paths are essentially missing in a lot of places at the golf course. And so we've been looking for grants or opportunities to help assist with the financial need to, or the cost of replacing those cart paths. Under our Parks Department, we've got our Aquatic Center. This project is in here as a placeholder. And I say placeholder because there's a lot that needs to happen until we actually know what the cost might be for an aquatic center. The very first step in that, though, is the study, and that would be the outreach to determine what is it that we're actually seeking to place. And then we would design, and then we would construct. So realistically, that the replacement of the existing pool could be anywhere between 7 million and 15 or 20 million, depending on what it is that you decide to replace it with, how it's going to be designed, what amenities might be included. And so all of that really begins with what do we want to see? And so those CIP fund dollars were set aside a couple of years ago to start that process. And now that we've moved through our sales tax referendum and that process, we're now ready to start the study for this. And so I think you'll see more about that coming out this year. The Flint Hills Trail improvements. This project is replacing the lime screening surface for the Flint Hills Trail, slated to happen yet this year in 2026. This is funded between the Special Parks Fund and grants. Prairie Spirit Trail improvements, same thing this year in 26, funded by your Special Parks Fund and grants. The Lakeside Park pathway installation. This is these funds came from the original sale of a few of those lots there, and we've been holding those aside in the Special Parks Fund for the eventual use towards an improvement in that area. And so this would be the installation of the pathway. Is that right, DJ? Thank you. Designed the share installation in 2027. Under the police department, we are seeking a federal appropriation for the improvements to the range, which has been titled Regional De-escalation Technology and Training Modernization. And this is an expanded process of not an expanded project, not just as a simple range improvement. And so this has been submitted for consideration under the federal appropriations side. I believe we've submitted on one or both, but at least two areas for consideration at this point. Under our sidewalk projects, we've got the 11th Street sidewalk construction that's happening this year from Main to Ash on one side. You've seen we've had discussions about this project prior, and this would be funded out of grants and the Sidewalk Improvement Fund. The Princeton sidewalk, which we just talked about, which is this really just lays out how that would be funded and over time, and how we would use those dollars to finish out that project. Under stormwater, we've got our levee system study, which this is the past study that we talked about in previous years where we were waiting to see if that was going to be funded. We had a concern that the 700,000 would need to come directly out of the stormwater fund. This is the study that determines what improvements need to be made to the levee, to the stormwater system, to even move the water from town through and to the levee and to the river itself. And so this is going to start taking place, and we should have some grant dollars to apply towards that project or towards that study Eventually, there will be some construction costs to go along with that, but the study has to happen first.
Just a quick question on that. So I know each year we get the levies inspected. What's the difference between this we're talking about versus what that we do annually, or the Corps of Engineers does annually?
So they're gonna look at all of the, they're gonna look at
Up there.
So when they come and do our annual inspection, they are just looking at the structure itself, the levee structure, up and down each side. What this study is going to do, it's going to look at all of the town on both sides, determine what the volume of water would be on the outside, and then they're going to look at the tow drains and the pump system and everything else, all of those calculations that are way above my head, and determine what it is that needs to happen. Right now, the way that those tow drains are designed, part of that annual inspection, they're supposed to be able to get in there and actually inspect them. And the way that they were designed, they can't get in there. So we've never been able to get in there and look at them. So that's going to be part of what this study is going to do.
Again, that 700,000 is just the study, not the repair or fix or anything that's needed. That's
That is
beyond.
correct.
So grant writer, your job.
And also too, to keep in mind, this study itself, it's going to be done in two different phases. Phase one is a 15-month study, and then the second phase, it's another 15 to 18 months. So once this gets started, we're still years down the road before we see anything back from them. So Melissa, you've got time.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Other stormwater projects had been recently or put on hold until we really knew where we were going to land with that levy study. But in the process, we need to go ahead and design a couple of those improvements that need to happen. So the Skunk Run improvements, which is down in our city park area, this is the design of that reconstruction that needs to happen, as well as the design for South Oak and Poplar. Both of these being the Skunk Run portion being much smaller, obviously, than this design for Oak and Poplar, and it's from 5th to 9th Street. So getting those two designs done will definitely help us in the future being able to construct those. And again, then we need to really determine how and when dollars are needed for reconstruction from our stormwater funds.
Director Landis, on those two, you may know, or maybe the city manager or city attorney, when we do a study like that at Skunk Run, I know it's been on the entire time I've been on the commission, that area. Once we get that assessment done, is there a length of time essentially that those are assumed to be good for, or would we have to do another one if it's another 5 years? Do you kind of touch on, if we do it this year and we don't do any work, how long those kind of last?
So typically, the design is good for quite a long time. The construction estimate that they give you at the time that the engineering is done is the part that then has to be adjusted for inflation depending on how long the delay is. But typically, the engineering, how you're going to put a pipe in underground or how you're going to improve the storm sewer in that area will hold up, for decades. That technology is very much goes back to the Romans. So what we do want to be mindful of is there is an inflation factor that builds up every year that we're not taking action on a project.
Thank you.
All right, for our water utility, I will note up front, in the past, we had started noting in our CIP water main replacement projects. And the reason we did that is because we knew that there were several areas in our water utility that needed to be addressed. Now, normally, just a water line replacement is really just a maintenance project. And normally those projects don't even make it into our CIP. But at that time, there were significant, they still are significant to our water utility, which does have a lower fund balance. And these projects tend to get pushed around based on when dollars are available to actually accomplish them. And so we had started putting a 5-year plan in here for water line and water main replacement. And we're going to move to a little bit different approach, which is have our water line and water main replacement program put together so it's got a longer outlook to it. and tie that to our water fund forecast. And then we'll place that program maybe in the CIP or at the back of the CIP or something where it's at least communicated, but maybe not necessarily a part of the CIP program itself, simply because they truly are maintenance projects that would normally just get done on a regular ongoing basis. And so you'll start to see those come out of the actual CIP program, but list that program behind the CIP so it's communicated at least. And so each of these, the ones that are left are 19th Street, Elm to Twyman, Cedar Street, 1st to 4th Street, Cedar Street, 4th to 7th, and then Davis Road. And I think we've talked about each of these for the last couple of years, and we've moved around a few of those projects just to accommodate fund balances and the ability and the need actually in the last couple of years. For our wastewater utility, we have some improvements that need to be made to the overall to the system, I guess. And some of these not necessarily being a small maintenance dollar amount. This one is the Headworks mechanical step screen replacement and the screening compactor. This has been on their radar for several years now. This would occur in 2027. This one is the VFD replacement program. This is happening in 2026. It's been part of our CIP for a little while now. Our water reuse system, the effluent diversion and booster, the pump installation. This is in our CIP for 2028, the closed loop water reuse system at the water reclamation facility to recycle treated effluent. Our future capital projects is a list of all the ongoing projects that is on our radar, but have not necessarily made it into the program simply because we either don't have an idea for cost, it hasn't really been vetted fully. We know that it's a need, but we're not sure exactly where those funds might come from in the future. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but you'll see some key things on here that are really just projects that have been brought up in the past, either from public input, either something that maybe you've brought to our attention, something that internally we've tossed around to say, wouldn't it be nice if we could do this at some future point? And then some of them are large projects, which we know that we're going to have a dedicated funding source to be able to do those projects with. So on this this list are things like your additional T hangers at the airport, eventually the design and construction of a new fire station, some demolition at the golf course, and the addition of a driving range. There's some parks projects there that have been on our list for a little while, just trying to come up with some funding sources for those. Again, more sidewalk projects. Of course, these are the large sidewalk projects that really fit into the connectivity plan, trying to determine where those funding sources would be coming from. And then we've even gone so far as to include things like our interceptors, which we've been talking about for lots of years, but each one of them being in excess of 8.2 million, and neither of those could be accommodated with the existing fund balance or the future forecast for that utility. Again, there's some water utility projects there as well. All of these being also good candidates for grant dollars. If they open up, we'll get them moved around. I think important here is to make sure that we know that these amounts that are even listed here have probably changed over time. These may not be exact numbers for those projects. They're probably higher than they were when they were originally added to the project list. And so we try to do our best to get the best estimates that we can, but really here, these are just things that are on our radar. And then there's a few more for your electric utility as well.
Director Landis, I'm sorry,
Yes.
before we move on that, just could you kind of call out, if folks have paid attention in the past to the capital improvement plan, there's a key section in here that's missing, which is streets. Could you touch on
Oh, thank
kind
you.
of why, if someone's looking at this and all of a
Yes.
sudden we're like, there's not even streets
There's no
mentioned
streets
in
here.
capital improvement? why
Thank
that
you.
might
In
be.
fact, it was a key point I was going to bring up to you, and I moved right on through it. So what we decided with the streets program is that it's still being constructed and will be brought to you in very short order. I think it's on our list of things over the next several weeks. sometimes those streets and the priority of those streets change, and they could change fairly rapidly. One, once we get this initial program put together, some of it may change annually based on need. And as you know, things can happen to your streets that require immediate attention all of it at one time. What we decided we would do with that instead is create something like I mentioned for the water program, which is put the street replacement plan in for the next 5 years, know that that's what we're targeting funding for, and that's what we're working towards. And then each year we would update it. So it would be basically an appendix to our CIP instead of listing in here. If you remember several years ago, there was just an item, one line item that said street maintenance program, $250,000. That was it. You had no more detail. And so being able to communicate what that plan is, I think will also help our public understand what's coming to us in the very short order and or in over the long term. And there are lots of streets that may not even make it onto that 5-year program, but we'll start rotating those on as we move through the future years.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was a huge piece that we should have covered. I'm so sorry. The citizen CIP requests, as I said, there was 23 projects that were submitted. And I really just want to take a second to thank those individuals who took the time to send in the project requests. It's really important that our public knows that we want to hear from them. And I really think that adding this to our website as an option for them to submit these as opposed to having to fill out a form and email it in really made it easier to do. And some of them were duplicates, many of them Brick Street repair, and you'll see in there that there's a lot of sidewalk extension. I might just note on those that while we're considering all of them, some of them may not make it into the immediate connectivity plan, or they may not make it in onto the very first round of Brick Street repair, but it's not because they're not on our radar, but because of funding availability. And so as we are able to move through the possibilities for funding for those or new grants come up, those plans can change at any time. And sometimes that changes with a new subdivision that comes in or a new commercial piece or the ability for someone else to add a sidewalk when they're planning a new subdivision. So again, I just want to thank everybody for submitting these. There are intersection improvements here. There's the ask for an indoor pool attached to the ORC. There's a request for art installation at the corner of, it would be the V-shaped piece at the north end of the Price Chopper triangle, that area there. It's a parking lot addition for the county, which we will redirect back to the county's ask. Again, more Brick Street repair, a roundabout request, some other street repair, a walking only street market. So lots of really great ideas here that were thrown out, and not that we haven't considered them, but I think when we see them come back to us, some of them that aren't on our immediate radar, it really puts it back in front of us. So again, we'll send communication out to everyone that submitted these requests, letting them know kind of whether they're in the plan, whether they're on a future plan, or the reasons why we can't consider them at this time.
On that, thank you for answering that. I was going to ask if we were getting back to the folks who put these in. Will this be included, once this goes through and everything and is published to the website? Will these citizen requests be kind of like this as we see it in the agenda at the very kind of end of the capital improvement plan?
I think we could do that if you'd really like to have them there. They're not in the plan, but I think that just having the explanation as to the review process that happened as part of that, we could do.
Going forward, as we're going to have this hopefully kind of in perpetuity,
Yes.
it allows people to see as things have been on that over the next, in 5 years, they may look back and see something on here that's been done.
Yeah.
And kind of see that if we start that process kind of going forward.
Yeah, we could consider that, sure. All right, with that, do you have any, that we're really not asking for you to approve anything tonight, just asking if you have any other input on these projects before we forward them on to the Planning Commission?
Director Landis, we'd mentioned on the roads, but we'd mentioned a lot of these things are in here because when they are in here, it opens the door to grant funding. We kind of have to prove that it's a project that's on our radar, and this is a way to do that. Do we see any concern with not having even roads listed with road plan beneath that or something on the capital improvement plan specifically calling out roads, if there are any grants that come available for roads, or do we not see that as,
I think that by incorporating that street plan and that water line replacement plan as an appendix to the CIP, they really are there.
Okay.
And because that hasn't been fully developed yet, it was hard to bring something to you today. This is not in final form by any means. By the time it makes it to the planning commission, those appendices will not really be something that's being voted on them or found in compliance with the comprehensive plan because they're maintenance of something that already exists. It's not the addition of something new. And so by the time we bring it back to you for your final approval in September, we should have that fully put together and we'll include those appendices in there. And then that really is our communication tool that, hey, we have all of these things are on our list plus.
thank you. Sure. Do we have any other questions or comments for Director Landis or staff regarding CIP?
Did you say you need action on this today or not?
No action needed.
Thank you, and thank you to you and staff. I know there was a lot of staff time put into all of these requests as well.
Absolutely. They have worked really, really hard on putting this together. So
Yes.
thank you to them.
Thank you. And thank you to the 23 folks who submitted requests for this. That'll take us to item 12, comments by our city manager.
Mayor and Commission, we have some operational highlights, utilities, public works, community development, communications and outreach, police and fire. Continued on that storm response, power outages, cleanup, and communication to the public. There were 2 structure fires in the city in the past week. Still got those openings for community development director, looking for police officers, and then seasonal grounds worker as well here before the summer. Upcoming events, downtown street corner planning and cleanup starting at Haley Park. That's Saturday, 8 to 11 a.m. Saturday, April 25th is the Ottawa Main Street Corvette Show, 9 to 3. And then want to remind everyone on Friday, May 1st, will be Chamber Coffee for ECAN in celebration of their 60th anniversary, 204 South Walnut at 8 a.m. Tentatively, we don't have any items for next week and don't plan to meet. And then just set aside some time tonight if you had any further questions on storm response or anything for our department heads or myself.
I guess on that, just kind of for general information purposes, we'd mentioned we were doing 2 rounds of limb pickup kind of through the city. Are we on to the second round? Are we still on first? Do we have a deadline that they need debris or limbs stuff to the curb when we'll kind of have a hard cutoff on what pickup looks like?
Yes, so for the construction debris, the hard deadline would be this Friday. So Friday will be the last day that we are picking up construction debris, because in coordination with the county, they wanted to put that end date of waiving the fee for taking stuff to the county landfill as the weekend of free dump day. So if you don't have it out to your curb by this Friday, we as staff will not be coming around and picking up next week, but you would still have the opportunity to take it to the landfill this weekend.
If someone puts something out, tomorrow, being that today's Wednesday, if they put something out tomorrow, is there a number, if they're concerned that your crews may not drive down their road because there's a lot of miles that you guys would have to cover, is there a best way for them to call and say, hey, we got something cleaned up this week, just to make sure it's on your radar, or how would they best do that?
Yeah, they could either call the Public Works 229. Yeah. Or they could email publicworks@ottawaks.gov. That'd
Okay.
probably be the best way, and then we'd be able to track it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so beginning next Monday, we would make that would be the second week of the limb pickup. So, and with that one, we are going to cover the entire town because we did have that pretty heavy wind that came up for a couple of minutes. So we don't know if it caused some other damage in other parts of town. So beginning on Monday, we will cover the entire town. So that will be Monday through Friday next week.
Great. Thank
Real
you.
quick, if you don't mind, I just had a couple of numbers that I thought might interest you. In our limb pickup over the last well, up until today, I don't have all of today's numbers, but we hauled a total of 351 loads of limbs throughout the damaged area. And to this point, we've hauled 25 loads of that construction debris. An update on the cemetery. We have finally got the numbers back from the assessment from the downed headstones. We will be in the process of getting reset 258 of those headstones that got knocked over. Very, very minor damage when it comes to the headstones, so that is great news to report. I don't have the exact numbers on those, but I think it's probably less than 20 that were damaged. But 258 of them were knocked over that will be getting reset. And our
Thank
goal
you.
would be to have those set up before Memorial.
Before Memorial Day, okay. And
Go ahead. Well, that's kind of, so we're putting the headstone. At one point, we thought it was a family responsibility, but the city's going to do that.
The city will stand the undamaged headstones back up. If the headstone is damaged, that part would fall on the owner.
I got it.
on that, do we, thinking about, the nature of gravestones, people move out of town, some of them are very old. Do we have a way to contact, if there is one that is damaged that we won't reset, do we have a way, are we contacting someone who we may know who owns that plot, or how do people know, I guess, if they don't live in Ottawa and they have a headstone?
You'd be surprised how quick news travels because
Okay.
we've had a lot of folks from a lot of different areas reaching out
Okay.
to ask us to go and check. If it gets to the point where we've noticed that there's been a damaged stone that has just been laying there untouched for a while, we'll do little bit of investigation and try to contact somebody just to let them know.
And then- oh, go ahead.
No, please.
Okay, on your numbers, sorry, this will hopefully be my last question. Were those, the 351 loads, is that city loads, or does that include county loads taken on, like, last Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yeah, so that would be all of your public works crew and the Franklin County Public Works crew working
Okay.
together and hauling those things off. So 351 loads total.
Awesome.
So along that line, you're taking it down to Second Street, correct?
Correct.
The ball fields? So do,
No. What we are hauling off, we are hauling to the city property down farther west than.
By the
ball
dam.
fields. The ball fields is where the community would be dropping their stuff
Okay.
off if they were hauling it off.
so do individuals have the ability to go down there and cut wood if they would prefer to take some?
At this point, we would ask not to. We've got to take measurements on each of those stacks of wood prior to, so that way, that's part of the FEMA reimbursement process for
Sure.
for the declaration to see if we're going to be reimbursed. So at this point, we would appreciate if they did not do that, but there will become a time to where, yes, it would be available to do so.
And eventually the city will mulch it? Is that what you guys will do with it?
We will burn it.
You'll burn it?
Yes.
Okay, didn't you mulch it before?
We mulch some of it. Yes, actually, I think that you're probably referencing the windstorm that we had. We actually had, I believe it was maybe the city of Lawrence. They brought down a giant piece of equipment and assisted with the mulching process with
But
that.
not this time.
We haven't coordinated that this time. We'll see where we end up.
I know there's been some
if we need
ask
to
of
make
if
that
it is
request.
mulch, could people come down and pick it up if they wanted some? So-
Absolutely. We have a mulch pile out there on Second Street that is always open and people can please come and get it.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions for department heads? Thank you. I think that's it. Thank you. That'll take us to item 13, comments by governing body. Commissioner Van Leeden.
I don't really have anything other. I'm still amazed by the way everybody got together and volunteered, and we got the city cleaned up as quick as we did after that tornado. So kudos to everybody on the city staff and departments and the community itself.
Thank you. Commissioner Allen.
Nothing to add.
Commissioner Skidmore.
Well, just to add on to Van Leeden's comments there, I have never heard so many positive responses and comments made toward our city crews and staff for doing what they did, and the police enforcement as well, and fire department. I just think that we've had other situations, and seemed like there's been equal number of complaints and compliments, but it seemed like way more compliments than there were complaints this time around. So that doesn't happen by accident. So I just want to say compliments to our department staff, department heads and staff for doing what they did for this last storm.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Crowley.
Nothing to add.
I as well will just reiterate that, you and your crews Seems like every time there's a storm, we actually thank them, and then we forget, the general public, I'll say, hopefully not us, forget about it until that arises again. But shout out to them and their families for the long days that they were working, and for working safely and all of that. And then to Commissioner Skidmore's point, I want to say thank you to Misty for communications from the city. I had a lot of people tell me, they appreciated the information that was shared out on social media platforms. And I think that, looking back at some past storms we've had and the communication that's gone out, I think that was a great improvement. That's a testament to you. So thank you for that. And then thank you to all staff, because the CIP is always an exciting time when it comes before us. There's a lot of big numbers, but it's really exciting things for our community. And there's a lot of staff time that goes into creating that. So thank you to all you guys and department heads for that. With that, do we want to have a discussion before we adjourn today about George's application? So he waited the whole meeting to watch us vote. I wasn't sure if you were waiting for all of that.
I will certainly make the motion. We add George Ogle to our planning commission.
I would second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed? It passes. Thank you for your interest, and I'm sure you'll get a fun welcome packet soon for all that stuff. Along with that, I know city manager had mentioned that there's nothing scoped right now for next week for the study session. Do anyone have anything that they would want to bring up to throw at that time, if we already have the time set aside?
I will be absent.
You're absent anyway. Okay, so I think officially we'll say the April 29th study session at 4 p.m. at City Hall is canceled. That will leave us to our May 6th commission meeting here at City Hall at 7 p.m., followed by our May 13th commission meeting here at 4 p.m. at City Hall. With nothing else to come before the commission, we are adjourned.